Cheers.
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 Welcome to another episode of Almost Rich, Almost Famous, Almost Daily. And today is a very special day. We have a guest, so just taking it a step back, Bridget and I were in DC one random night. I don't even remember when it was, like last year. Yeah. And we run into this lovely man, Kenny Hamilton, who we have been in touch with now since we met. We're so excited to have him on the pod today. So everyone, welcome Kenny to Almost Rich, Almost Famous, Almost Daily.
Woo! We don't have sound effects since we're on Zoom, so we have to do that. But yes, for everyone that's been listening and watching Betsy and I for the last couple of years, I think you know by now, we really like to have a good time. And I have to say that DC trip was one for the books. We had a blast. We were at a club. We meet Kenny. But we quickly realized Kenny was much more than just a fun and amazing guy. He's a music manager, entrepreneur, managing partner at CHS Management Incorporated. He literally has worked with some of the most talented and biggest names in the game, Justin Bieber, so many more. If you're not following him on Instagram or Twitter, you need to now, at Kenny Hamilton. Kenny, I love following you, looking at all the up-and-coming artists you work with, the fun life you live. But lately, you've been using your platform and your voice to really make a difference on what's going on in our current state and world right now. And we thank you so much for making that difference. And we're so excited to talk to you a little bit more about it.
Well, I appreciate you both for having me. Yeah, that DC night was awesome. And I still caught a 6 a.m. flight back to LA. So that was, you know, it's what I normally do when I go back and forth. I don't know if you saw that. I know this is a Cleveland thing, but you know, I'm not, you know, I just want to make sure that you see the greatest team ever.
I think.
Hey, just remember where LeBron is from. We're all just kids from Akron, Ohio.
Oh, that's good. No. I like LeBron. You know, I actually started following the Lakers when I was younger with Magic and the Showtime Lakers. So I've been a lifelong Laker fan, and I'm a Kobe guy. So a huge Kobe guy. You know, long live Dean. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. You know, you two are. It's funny when you go around in the world and you travel. Like last year alone, I think I flew 220 something thousand miles on Delta. You know, you meet people from different walks of life, and I think it's a testament to how, you know, love and just genuine interactions come with people. You know, we're all from different backgrounds. We all grew up differently. You know, we have, you know, a lot of things in common. And it's just crazy because of the temperature and the climate of the world today. You know, we met and instantly became, you know, friends and like hit it off. And, you know, I stalk everybody's, you know, Instagram. I see what you guys have been doing. And, you know, Betsy, I'm always making little snide comments on her stuff. Like, what are you doing? You know, it's not as fun if I'm not there, you know, like whatever. But I think this is just great. You know, it's just a great thing about humanity and people as a whole.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on. We know, since we follow you on Instagram, that you were actually recently at the LA protest. So how can you speak a little bit to that? Like, it looked insane. It looked amazing. There were like 20,000 people there.
Yeah, well, actually, I just found out yesterday that the LAPD is saying that it was about 50,000 people.
Wow.
And it literally stretched from Hollywood and Highland Center, because we marched down Hollywood Boulevard. And it's ironic because I did the same thing back in 2016 after the Michael Brown incident and the Eric Gardner situation that kind of happened all around the same time. And it's, you know, I hate that it's a somewhat of a recurring theme, but I feel like because of where everything is with like this pandemic, people are at home, you know, not a lot of people are, there's not a lot of things going on. There's no sports. Now the sports is coming back in another month or so, but now I feel like people really had the time to pay attention to seeing what happened with the George Floyd situation. And that situation, you know, really sparked an uproar. But yeah, Sunday that the march took place, it was organized by YG and Black Lives Matter. And it was very peaceful. There were no incidents that happened. You know, I know who helped put it all together. One of my best friends manages YG, actually. And they were in constant communication with the chief of police. They got the proper permits that they needed. And I was just happy to see so many people come together where there'd be no incident. And the funny thing is, you didn't see that on the news.
Right, exactly.
when the rioting and the looting and the people were taking advantage of, the message that was trying to be portrayed was happening, that's all you saw. I had a lot of people in Europe and, outside of the US that were calling me. It's like, oh my God, it's a war zone out there. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it's just some idiots that, try to take advantage of, a really bad situation. And it's sad that I didn't see that on the news as much as I saw all the negative stuff, but it's a reason why I don't watch the news that much,
There's a reason why we follow you on social media, to give us that positive insight. I tell people that all the time too. I mean, here in Cleveland, I live right downtown. There was a lot of rioting and looting, much like a lot of cities across the country. It was so moving to me to see the peace, love, and unity that was happening in LA. I feel like that's what's going to make the difference, when people come together positively to make this change.
Right. And, protests have always brought awareness. And now it's taken, there's a lot of different people. I mean, I was just on a call right before I jumped on here. There's a few friends and people of mine were putting together a council here in LA to work directly with, the police departments, the Mayor Garcetti's office, and a few other things. So there's a lot of action that is being taken, in the sense of voting. I don't know if you saw, but, there's primaries this past Tuesday, and, there's a lot of voter suppression issues in Georgia, where in a lot of certain communities that machines don't work. And, people are waiting. The last voter I think I remember seeing at one place was 12:37 a.m. And it's things like that have been happening for a long time. And when you scream, oh, this isn't right, or it's suppression, and people are like, oh, no, it's not. You guys are making that up. And it's like, well, have your grandmother wait in line for 6 hours just trying to vote. Because they live in a neighborhood and there's only 3 ballot boxes in there, but you got hundreds of people, thousands of people that live in some of these municipalities. And so there's a lot of action with that, because that's one thing that I'm trying to spearhead right now, is getting people in urban communities and lower income communities to understand what the census is. Because that's how they justify, a lot of situations, a lot of funding and things like that. And census isn't talked about a lot. And I don't think people really understand that. So, I could talk about this stuff all day long, but it's great to see that we're having conversations across the lines, because it's not a Black issue. I think it's a human rights issue. And, obviously there's a whole bunch of people that hate the whole Black Lives Matter, slogan. And it's not saying that you both don't matter, because you guys know that you matter to me. I appreciate you all. And it's like, all is encompassing. So if you look up the definition, all means everyone. But if everyone's not on the equal playing field or an equal platform, then it can't be all if one of them is falling short. So, yeah,
So I think you've spoken to what you're doing in your community. And I think we all have a voice in our own way. We all have some sort of platform. Bridget and I have talked, a lot about things that we can be doing, but as white people, obviously, like, what can we be doing to help get the word out and help try to incite some sort of change?
I think it's, there's people are using the term ally, what are your friends doing? And I think there's actionable items, but there's also, like, it's okay to ask questions. I can't tell you how many text messages I've gotten, like, hey, I don't really understand, what you've been going through. And especially with me, I use me as an example, because I've been, blessed in different ways in the world that I live in. I understand it is a bubble. But outside of that, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I moved to LA. I've been in LA most of my adult life. But I grew up in the South. My father's from Mississippi. Most of my family's from Mississippi. North Carolina. So it's like, I see things differently from the position that I'm in. And I think just to kind of answer that question, and I don't want to go off on another tangent, but it's just, find where your passion may lie in wanting to help. And it's okay to ask countless questions, or, to call me and say, hey, I had this idea. Literally the council idea came from another, a white guy that I know very well. He said, what do you think this will work and be an actionable, thing that we can have some people sit at a round table and really discuss the problems, and issues that we can kind of attack, even in like, I'm not against the police whatsoever, but I am against the ones that are bad. Like, it kills me sometimes when people are like, oh, well, there's bad police and there's good police, but it's like, all right, there are certain jobs, and I think Chris Rock said this, and I thought it was so eloquently said. There's certain jobs you just can't be bad at. Like, you can't have a gun and be bad at your job. Right. Or do you want to get on a plane and be like, some pilots are good, some pilots are bad. You might get there, you might not. Like, it's like, where's the rationale in that? And I have a lot of friends. I have friends that are NYPD guys, and we've had some really challenging conversations over the past week. I got some of them guys, they don't even pick up the phone right now, and they're mad at this or that, but it's like, let's have a dialogue. Let's understand why, a lot of people that look like me, why would you pull out your gun before your taser? Why do you feel that much threatened? Like, you guys know me. I'm a bigger guy. I have lost weight during this pandemic, been riding my bike a lot. I just want to throw that out there.
You're one of the few that have lost during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, I'm down about 12 pounds during the pandemic right now. We're doing good right now. I mean,
good.
I literally drink coffee and water, these gallons all day long. But it's certain situations where it's like, let's have more dialogue. Let's understand, because there are people that are afraid of the police, or they just when they deal with them, they're gonna have these different situations. And the good cops, I understand that there's a code. I was in the Navy. I was in the military for 4 years. We started Operation Enduring Freedom after the towers went down. So when that war started, I was overseas dealing with that for a good number of years. And, you come in these situations and there's codes, or, this is your brother and your brother this. But if your brother is doing something wrong, like, at what point do you speak up about it? Right. What point do you say, look, that's not right? You took this too far. Or, like, there has to be more dialogue, I think, within, and more accountability. That's what the biggest argument is just trying to hold people accountable. And in this case, trying to hold police accountable when they come into encounters with minorities.
Yeah. Exactly. And we were talking, whether you're almost rich and almost famous like Betsy and I, or you are rich and famous, this issue exists everywhere. It doesn't matter how successful you are. And it's just amazing for people like you and people that are celebrities and so successful coming out and speaking their mind and educating. That's what's going to help us continue to make these small changes to hopefully make this big change and end this for good, because it is ridiculous when you think about, we say it's 2020, how does this exist? And I have learned so much just in the last few weeks that I was so unaware that Black people were dealing with things that I have never had to deal with in my life. And I feel like even just learning and educating myself on that, that's going to help make a change. And we love that you came on here and have educated me so much more in these past, whatever, how many minutes we've been on here. So keep doing it, because you do have a platform and we appreciate you so much.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Like I said, asking questions and having dialogue, I think, is where it all starts. And don't feel bad. Like, there's not a bad question to ask, and just to get people understanding on both sides.
Yeah, I think Bridget and I have talked a lot about having those tough conversations, and it's obviously not comfortable. I'm sure when you're calling your NYPD friends, they know that you're calling to have like a real discussion, and I think that's probably tough for people, but that's what Bridget and I are committed to doing, and we appreciate your help and guidance with it. If you guys are not following Kenny, please do. He posts stuff. It's super informative, really thoughtful, at Kenny Hamilton on Instagram and Twitter, right, Kenny?
Yes. And I wanted to say one last thing real quick, because the verbiage, I think, is being misconstrued, and I honestly wish we could change this, but the whole defund the police thing that people are seeing a lot, and it's not that. I think there's a miscommunication, especially, on some folks on the right side. Defunding, what we're trying to say is reform. And, like LA has a $1 billion, maybe more than that, $1 billion budget that goes to the LAPD. But like, your education budget is 100 million, if that. That spreads around. It's like, do we really need $1 billion over here, or can we put more into communities, more into education, pay teachers more, like give people a chance to where at the root of all of this is the lack of education. So can we put more into some of these programs to help these younger kids so they don't grow up into the system? No one's saying all these people are stand-up model citizens or didn't do anything wrong. We're just saying give them a chance to get to the station to get booked instead of dying on the street before they even get there in your, you know, custody. That's where a lot of it is. So I'm not necessarily with the defund the police language, because I think it gets really confusing. But it's a reform that people are looking for. Like, do they really need $1 billion in most of the major cities? Can you deal with 800 million? Can we take 200 more million, put over here? You know, we all know teachers and we know that they're grossly underpaid. So that's like one of the biggest things is trying to reallocate funds where they are.
Yeah, so I think funding the police is definitely something that I've had a tough time understanding up to this point. So if I want to read more about it, are there any specific resources that you think people should be looking at that you've really?
There was I'm gonna see, actually someone posted this. People are actually now coming together to put that together. I'm trying to see if there is a site on this. No, I don't have it right now, but I'll find a link, because I know certain people have been actually putting up what exactly it is.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can share that with us, we'll share on our story at @almostrich_almostfamous on Instagram, ARAF_TLOD on Twitter. Of course, we'll tag you, Kenny, because you're the absolute best. But yeah, we'd really appreciate any information you can provide.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks so much, Kenny. Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
You got to drink. You guys didn't drink.
True. I need an alcoholic beverage.
All right.